G'day guys, how are we? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Monday, April 4th, so I really appreciate you joining us. I suppose you could call it our first official show. Last week was a bit of a last-minute decision to have a crack at it. A lot of flaws. We had a lot of people actually say they tried to get on and the link wouldn't work. I'm not quite sure how all that works. I'm going to actually put the link in now and we'll see. There's a few little glitches last week that didn't quite happen. So that's why it was a test run. So this week, we'll see how we go. So I'll put it in there. So it should be up there. Now, just click on it. Now, I think what you've got to do is actually allow camera and especially microphone access. I think what it is. We had someone in last week and nothing happened. So either way, as I said last week, it's Talking Boxing. I'll sit on here all night and talk as much as I can with a lot of different subjects. A lot to talk about in the boxing world at the moment. If you want to come on and chat about it, this is what it's about. It's your show. We've got our Thursday night show that we do every Thursday, that we go through this with the guys. But if you want to come on and discuss, this is as I said, your show. I'm just here to talk boxing. So I've got a lot of stuff I can sort of talk about, but it'd be even better to have you guys part of it. So now, just before I get started, if you're wondering why we're not on Facebook this week and just on YouTube, it's because our good mates at Facebook decided that for some reason we violated their codes or rules or regulations or whatever the hell it is these days. I don't know what I did wrong. It was actually not the official stream. It was the test stream I did earlier in the day. So I don't know what happened, but I was barred for 3 days. I don't know why, because literally I didn't say a word in the test. I literally sat there and played with the buttons and pushed lots of different things, and I don't know what I did wrong, but I've upset someone at Facebook, so I'm not going to risk that again because I've got the normal deep dive page, plus I've got my personal page and a bit, so I'm not going to risk that for the time being till I get to the bottom of it. But as usual with Facebook, you try and dispute it and send in all the drama or all the shit they want, and they just never get back to you. So I don't know. We'll see how we go there. But as I said, plenty to talk about. I'm going to get started, but if you want to come on, as I said, click the link. Put your name in, allow camera and microphone access. If you don't want to come on, you'll feel a little bit unsure about it. That's fine. That's cool. We're only just getting started. Just put a comment in the comment section there. It should be up there. But as I said, better yet, click on the link and come on. So better to talk to someone rather than myself for an hour or so, or whatever it takes. So I'm going to kick it off with the Cambosis Haney announcement. So I was actually one of the ones that thought a Cambosis fight in Melbourne might struggle. I know he's got the Greek heritage and a massive fan base now, and he's definitely one of our biggest sporting stars. But up until the press conference the other day, I thought we might struggle to get 25 to 30,000. I was a bit skeptical. If you watch the Thursday night show, I've been saying it for a while that 30,000 tops for me. But I'll tell you what, after having seen that the press conference the other day, I was just amazed. The professionalism of it all, the Hollywood type of event that it was. You could really tell that it was a top-ranked production. I mean, great to roll out Eddie Maguire. I thought it was awesome. You couldn't get anyone better in Melbourne to front the press conference than Eddie Maguire. So I thought it was absolutely awesome to have him involved. I love the Sparta music at the start. I loved that George came in and he played up to it. He looked to the crowd and he paused, he waited, he let everyone soak it in. I thought it was really, really good, to be honest. And then he walked out. All the theatrics was there. I thought it was awesome. And then I thought Haney was very well spoken as well. Not sure why they had his dad on. I suppose he's his trainer, I suppose. But yeah, I was a bit surprised at that. But I thought, or maybe they thought that Haney couldn't maybe handle the argument by himself because George was always going to go at him. But yeah, no, I thought it was great. I thought having Luda Bella on there and Bob Arum was awesome as well. And as I said, I was a little bit worried about the magnitude of the event up until then. But after I saw that, I think we can get the 40 to 50,000. I really do. I think one thing about Melburnians, they love an event. Not just Melburnians, but Aussies. We love an event. And I really like the fact that they didn't just roll it out to the boxing fans, is what they could. The boxing fans, yeah, you're going to get the diehards go. And that's why I thought maybe 25,000. But I tell you what, they've marketed it, and I'm sure they'll roll out all the big guns in the lead up to it to make sure it's a massive event. But I really like the fact that they've and that probably gets back to having Eddie Maguire front it as well. I thought it was just awesome that it's now going to appeal to the masses, the non-boxing fans who are just going to want to be there for the event itself. As I said, we all love the one-off events in Melbourne. Always are huge. So the fact they've tried to tap into that rather than just rely on the good old boxing fans to come along, I think it's a masterstroke so far. And if the lead up to it, with the fight build up to it, and all the marketing that goes into it, is any indication by that press conference, I think it will be massive. And I think, as I said, I reckon we'll get that 40 to 50,000. So I never thought I'd be saying that. So and Marvel Stadium is a great location. I think when Costa Zoo fought there, he fought Jesse James Lehar there back in 2003. And I remember, I didn't actually go to the fight. I think I might have been overseas at the time. But I remember they might have had 30,000 go. But I remember in the lead up to it, it wasn't the real Hollywood production that this one looks like it's going to be. It was just, hey, Costa Zoo's fighting. Let's rely on the star power of Costa to get that massive crowd. And I just don't think it really hit home with a lot of people. But I think with this, the fact that they've got, it's a bit like if you're liking it to the state of origin, coming to the rugby league I'm talking about here, Queensland and New South Wales. You think about that scenario. I remember when it first came back in the 90s. Victorians couldn't give a shit about rugby league. They really couldn't. And I know the Storm's in now, and we've all taken a slight interest in it, but nothing will ever beat Aussie rules, and no one ever watched it. But if you look at that event, I remember it was just after the Great Southern Stand Open. It would have been 92, 93, maybe 94. And they got nearly 100,000 people to a state of origin because it was the event. They all wanted to go to the event. So, mind you, after that, the crowds dwindled because it was no longer the event to go to. They just thought they'd roll up every year and away we'd go, but it wasn't the case. So I think in this instance, as I said, I think they've really started off on the right foot by the Hollywood type of production and having the live feed from America and all the bells and whistles. I just thought it was really, really cool and really worthy of a Las Vegas event too. And just looking at some of the comments on social media and YouTube and all the rest of it from people overseas, I think it was really well received. And I think George Cambosis, probably on my list to have a talk about in a minute, the Ebony Bridges thing. I've had a lot of feedback about that. But one thing with George, you can tell right from the word go, media training. You can spot it a mile away. He walked out there. He's obviously had the people in his ear. And this is what I love about George. Everything is so professional. Right from his training schedule to the way he dresses, to the way he speaks, the way he walks. Just everything is all structured to make him more professional. And I love it. But the fact he walked out there, you could tell he had media training because he sat down, he took a breath. He said, it's great to be here. He paused. There was no rushing it. There was no stumbling. There was no ums and there was no ahs. And it was just straight to the point. And geez, I thought he spoke really, really well. And as I said, when he was just probably in a little bit of doubt of what he was going to say or what was in his mind, he stopped. And you could really tell that, I don't know whether it's his promoters or his management team or him himself, have just said, I'm going to add this string to my bow about being more professional. So I just thought it was A1 with George, with the way he spoke. Devin Haney spoke really well as well, I thought. But I really liked about it was professional. And again, I'm going to get to this point with the Keep It Classy that I put on last Thursday's show, that you could tell both of them. It was just great to sit there and watch it when both spoke really well. Yeah, they had a bit of a crack at each other, a little bit, not really insults going either way, but just a really good banter back and forth. And that's what we want to see. Now, I'd love to hear your opinions. As I said, put a comment in there, or better yet, come on and have a chat about it. But I really it was just really welcoming to see two very, very professional fighters and athletes and businessmen, more importantly, come on and speak so eloquently. So I know I'm rambling on about it, but I was just so impressed by the whole, not only the press conference itself, but the way the two guys spoke. And even when his dad tried to probably, nibble a little bit and probably got a little bit heated, I really thought, again, George, super professional, didn't get in all the up yours and F you and all this sort of crap that they go on these days. It was just, I'll take a breath. I'll have a good think about what I'm going to say. And I'm going to say it professionally because after all, I am a professional. And I'll say it again, if you're watching out there, all the Aussies, if you want a role model and way to present yourself to the boxing public, not just Australia, but everyone, the public, to get people on board. Media training, be professional. You are a professional athlete, be professional. Okay, so again, I've got that on my little list of things to bring up to talk about, but I'm really interested to hear your thoughts about the whole press conference because I thought, as I said, it was awesome. I've said it 10 times, but I'm going to keep saying it. And I just really hope that they keep it rolling. And I can't believe I'm not going to be here for the fight. I'm going to be overseas. Booked the trip over to the International Boxing Hall of Fame, which I've said a few times, and looking forward to that. But I'm just spewing that I won't be there for Cambosis and Haney, which would be great. So I'd love to hear your comments, your views. As I said, the links in there at the moment. All you got to do is come on, put in your name, and allow your access to your camera and your sound, and come on and have a chat. Because as I said, I'll sit here all night and talk, but the whole concept of the show is for you to come on and chat to me about whatever you want to have a chat about. As I said, we had a few issues last week. A few people said they tried to get on and the link wouldn't work. We're just trying to iron out the kinks. So if you can't get on, comment in there so I know, and we can fix it. But if you're just joining the stream now, I just mentioned before, we're not on Facebook this week because the pricks chucked me in Facebook jail for nothing. I did a test run and literally said nothing and they barred me. So anyway, that was for 4 days. But here we are. So just on the Cambosis Haney event again, been lots of talk about who's going to be on the undercard. Now, a little birdie told me that the Maloney brothers are almost a lock to be on the undercard. I think that's probably no surprise with Top Rank after all. And the fighting actually this weekend, I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, so it'd be interesting to see who you want to be on the undercard. What do we got there? Oh, who we got there? I think that's Andrew back. Hi, Lyndon in chat. Nice to have you back there, mate. We're just talking about the Haney Cambosis card. So, as I said, with the undercard, it looks like the Maloney brothers are a lock at this stage. Nothing's obviously been announced, and probably nothing will until they probably get over these fights. But I've got a good source that told me that they'll be on the card. Not quite sure who else. So I'm really interested to see who you want on the card. Now, just bear in mind, this is probably the one thing to consider. It's great to want certain boxes on the card, but unfortunately at the moment, and look, it's probably the flip side to how No Limits and Dean Ells and the Tasman Fighters and all these Ace Boxing and all these promotional companies that have got all the elite talent in Australia. The problem is when Top Rank come in and put the show on, a lot of the fighters are tied up to promotional companies and can't come on. So the only ones really that can come on are the Maloney brothers. So unless there's deals made, I'm sure Top Rank are big enough and strong enough that they might be able to do some deals with local promoters. But, there's been talk about people would love to see Nikita Zoo on there. They'd love to see, Melbourne boys like Jade Mitchell or Harry Garside or these types of guys. Unfortunately, guys, Jade Mitchell's with No Limit and Harry Garside's also with No Limit. I'm just sort of picking those guys out. But, yeah, I'm not sure a lot of these fights can actually happen. They can probably put a line through Nikita Zoo right here and now because I think he's fighting in June or July anyway. I think it might be June. And he's already got an opponent lined up, so I doubt that he'll be on the card. And I'm not sure that would work anyway. But, yeah, really interested to see who you guys think on the undercard. And I've actually been asked about a few different fights that I would like to see. I'm going to go through that in a second. But put on the comments or come on about who you would like to see on the undercard. And as I said, the Maloney brothers will be on, but you've got probably another 4 or 5 fights to put in. Actually, I will say that Terry Nicholas will probably be on the card because he's with Team Cambosis, so he'll be on. I know he called out Nikita Zoo. I think if he had I think his management team in hindsight would have maybe rethought that. Again, I'll be interested to hear what you guys have to think. Have to say about that. Sorry, I'll spit it out. I don't know whether you saw it a couple of weeks ago, but he had a win and jumped on and I won't say made a bit of a spectacle of himself, but he had a bit to say about Nikita and more so about his opponent. I think it was on the Sonny Bill Williams and Barry Hall undercard. It was. So yeah, that was a bit funny, but so Terry Nicholas, I would say, be on there. So there's sort of 3 undercard fights. So there's probably 28 rounds of undercard right there. So it'll be interesting to see who they get on there and what deals they want to make. Because the other thing is, at the moment, No Limit have got a lot of shows going on. Tasman Fighters are about to start their year off. They've got a lot of shows going on. D&L have got a lot going on. Ace Boxing got a lot going on. So they're going to want their stars on their shows. So I'm not sure how it works. Maybe they bring over some American fighters or whatever. I don't know. But at this stage, your guess is as good as mine about what's going to happen. So that's Cambosis and Haney. Again, I'll say it again, wrapped with the launch of the fight. I thought it was awesome. My estimation's gone from about 25 to 30 to about 40 to 50, I think, based on that. And I really think the city of Melbourne and Victoria are going to get right behind it. And that's not mentioning all the ones that have come from all over Australia and the world to flood the city. And I will say another masterstroke by the Melbourne City Council. They've obviously taken out of the Brisbane the government. It's my small town, regional Victorian town mentality with the council. This is the Victorian government. They've taken a leaf out of the Queensland government's book. If you remember back to 2017, no one said the Jeff Horn Manny Pacquiao fight would happen. Dean Lonergan from I think it was Duco back then, now with D&L, of course, he said no, I'm going to make it happen. He pitched it to Anastasia Palaszczuk up in Queensland, got the money required. The Queensland government invested in the event, and they made a fortune. And if you're at the event, I'm sure if you're a boxing fan, you were. 51,000. I reckon there was another 20 or 30,000 people that just went there just to be in for that event. So they would have made a fortune out of it. The place was pumping in Brisbane that week. I was up there for the whole week, and if you guys are up there, you can probably imagine what I'm talking about. The whole week was just like a boxing expo. It was awesome to go to the hotel where the fighters were staying. I stayed there all day. It was awesome to sit there. You'd walk in, there'd be Jeff Fennick over there and Barry Michael over there and Freddie Roach over there and Justin Fortune, and you could just sit down and just talk boxing all day and every day. What do you got up there, Andrew? Maloney Brothers better than nothing. Few new prospects would be good for exposure. Yep, 100%, mate. As I said before, Maloney Brothers will be on there, but I'm not sure. Look, unless bigger fights come up. Now, they're obviously fighting this weekend. They're fighting journeymen, but that's okay. They keep busy fights. You can't be fighting at the top level all the time. Andy especially fought in late December. Jason, he'll be fighting a 10-round. The name. So Andy will be fighting Gilberto Mendoza over 8 rounds. Jason will be fighting Francisco Pedrosa over 10 rounds. So it's on the undercard of Michaela Mayer and Jennifer Hahn. I'm not quite sure about the girls, but you're right, mate. The better than nothing. And in my opinion, having the main event, of course, and having the Maloney brothers on the undercard set, that's worth the $60 or $70 that we're going to have to pay right there. And knowing Top Rank, they will give them good opponents. But the only thing is, as I said, if they get world title fights in the meantime, then who knows what can happen. I don't think in Jason's case it'll happen because you've got Anui and Donaire fighting the rematch the end of this month, I think it might be, or early next month, whatever it might be. So I doubt they're going to back up quick. So, but Andy, plenty of options for Andy to fight. A big fight on the undercard. And who knows, wouldn't it be great to have a world title fight with, say, Andy on the undercard as the main support to Haney and Cambosis? It would just be massive. But I'm really excited about it now. I was a little bit ho-hum when it was first announced. I wasn't too stressed about Haney. I thought, I was really hoping it was Lomachenko. We can obviously understand why he's not coming. We totally understand it. And our best wishes go out to Loma and everyone else over there. But yeah, when they said Haney, I thought it was a little bit underwhelming, but the way they've launched this card, it is going to be huge. So really looking forward to that. So Andrew, yep, there you go, mate. So hopefully that'll be, the Maloney's will be on there. And as I said, Terry Nicholas, and they probably only need 2 or 3 others. And and we'll be set. The other thing I put on last week, I'll go through some of the talking points we put on the Thursday show, which, again, I'm open to talk about and get your opinion, because there's a couple on there that got a lot of feedback in the comments and everything else, and direct messages or DMs, whatever they call them these days. The Jeff Horn vindication. I said on the last Thursday show I was wrapped that Jeff has finally got some sort of vindication about the win over Pacquiao. Tassie and I talked about it last week on the show. It was almost like when he beat Manny, there was euphoria, and everyone was wrapped for Jeff. It was awesome. Boxing was massive in Australia. Excuse me again. And it was almost like people resented him for beating Manny. As soon as all the online trolls and all the Manny brigade and all, I think Freddie might have said something, and Justin Fortune said, but it was a pile. And after that, even the Aussies started to turn on Jeff. And it was like people resented him for beating Manny. And we all know we love Manny. He's an all-time great. But Jeff, in my opinion, he won the fight. It was super close. I had him winning at 7 rounds to 5. The 9th round was probably 10-8. So I had Jeff winning by 1 point. That was just my opinion. I'm happy to hear your opinion on it. I'm sure there's lots of people out there that think Manny won, and that's fine. I think it could have gone either way. But I'll say again, and I'll keep saying it, it was a close fight. It just happened to go Jeff's way. If it had to go the other way, there would be no arguments. But in this instance, Jeff won the fight. So good luck to him. And I felt so sorry for him afterwards. Yeah, he was busted up. It was the greatest day of his life, apart from, as Rocky would say, apart from his kids being born. But I was so wrapped for him, and I just felt for him afterwards that, as I said, Aussies actually turned on him, and once the American press and the Filipinos and all that all jumped on him, he was almost forced to go to ground a little bit, and wasn't able to enjoy his win the way he should. And then when he fought Tim, that was just the last sort of straw for it all. Everyone backed Tim. Jeff was the bad guy. I felt really bad for Jeff. And look, Tim did a number on him. That's great, but I'm just really wrapped for Jeff. That's a small amount of vindication for his win. And thanks, Andrew. Glad that Freddie Roach gave Jeff his props. Yep, he did. He didn't have to say it. It's amazing how time heals everything. And yeah, he was probably being polite to Ben to some extent. But in this industry, I don't think that Freddie's going to say that what he did without him. Sort of believing it. So I was just wrapped, and good on Freddie Roach. And, we all love Freddie as well. Good on him for coming out and saying this is the way it was. And we thought that Jeff got the nod, and good on him. What do you got there, mate? Jeff gave his all, deserved respect, left it on there versus Pac-Man. You got that right. Being at the fight, we all thought Jeff was gone in the 9th round. What heart that he showed in that fight. I actually thought he won probably 5 of the first 6 rounds. Manny started to get his groove. And then in the 9th round, it almost came crashing down, a little bit like George Cambosis against Lopez in the 10th round, I think it was, when he got dropped. But like a true champion, like George did as well, he took a deep breath. He regathered himself. Yes, the fight maybe could have been stopped at certain points and in between rounds, but like George did, Jeff came out and won the 10th, 11th, and 12th rounds. Cambosis won the 11th and 12th rounds to put the icing on the cake. So not only did they show match, but neither one of them just hung in there and held on for the win. They actually won the remaining rounds after being knocked down. The legend has joined us. Jack Dilks, our man. If you're in the boxing fraternity in Melbourne, you all know who Jack Dilks is. What do you got there, mate? Off the back of how Duco built Jeff up, how can we establish new stars within the current crop? Is it as simple as how No Limit are doing at the moment? Well, mate, it helps when you've got coin. That's where it comes down. Now, No Limit, I'll give them a lot of credit because they were nobodies when they first started. They'd done a few football fights with Paul Gallen and a few of the rugby events. They took a massive gamble. So they had a little bit of funding from Fox Sports, had a bit of a relationship. But when the Tim Tszyu situation came about and they were all vying for his signature, they took a massive punt. They gave Tim exactly what he wanted and more. I think there was a Mustang or something thrown on top to sweeten the deal. It's a genius move because what they had straight away was a main event star, pay-per-view star with a click of the fingers. So with that, they then put him out. And I was surprised when they put him up against Caparello for starters. I thought, even though it's with Tim's last name, putting him up against Caparello in a $50 pay-per-view, I didn't think it would work, but I underestimated the Aussie fight fans and Tim's pedigree, because it was a massive success. Of course, they've taken that, they've rolled it into the next one and the next one and the next one, and Tim's just become a juggernaut. And because of that, the money they're making, the backing they've got from Fox, they've been able to roll that into the undercards of the event and investing in their fighters, and that's what it's all about. It's all about the coin. And unfortunately, it's a little bit of the problem with Australian boxing at the moment. Probably not just Australian boxing. I'm sure it's the same around the world. You've got some really well-intentioned, promoters with great intentions in the sport, but unfortunately they're hamstrung. Their hands are tied because they just haven't got the money. And I've been there myself. I did 25 shows myself. You know, you get all these young guys through, and unfortunately the money's just not there when you're relying on family and friends and a few fight fans to come and prop up the events. It's very, very hard to make the money to invest in those right type of fights. It really is. It's okay when they're fighting 4 rounders or maybe even 6 rounders. Once they get up to 8, 10 rounders, it's bloody hard to roll and keep investing in them. And that's what No Limit have got. And DNL, just to that extent, has got that as well. They've got the relationship with Fox. I mean, these guys are a lot of coin. They've probably got the show and the undercard paid for before they sell a ticket by the TV money. And that's a massive advantage to have, because then all they're doing is relying on the main event to sell the tickets or the pay-per-views, and away they go. It's a funny old industry, but unfortunately, when all you guys are out there saying, why don't promoters do this and do that, and they match them against easy fights, sometimes they've got to say they haven't got any choice. They either do that or they lose money. And I've been there. Don't get me wrong. I've made lots of shows that I've lost money because I'm investing in the guys, and the money's just not there to pay for them. So that's why I take my hat off to some of the promoters out there, like Will Tomlinson's doing great in Victoria. You got Ace Boxing, Angelo DiCarlo, Tasman Fighters. To lesser extent, Dragonfire over in the West. So some really good promoters out there doing great things. They just need some coin. So that's why I think I've said on here a couple of times on our other Thursday night show, it'd be great for Fox Sports to say, okay, we know we've got the big boys and No Limits and DNLs. Let's allocate them the money, but let's give an Ace Boxing or a Wildfighter or a Dragonfire some coins so they can have a go as well. And all of a sudden, we've got 4 or 5 promoters out there doing the same thing, and they can spread it around and give all these young kids the opportunity they deserve, because Australian boxing has never been in a better position, I don't think, as far as opportunities goes. Tassie and I speak about this all the time, about whether, the talent's the same as it was years ago. And Tassie and myself grew up in the 90s and early 2000s, where, there was great talent that was just as good as these days, but the opportunities just weren't there. There was no Limit, there was no DNL, there wasn't even a Tasman Fighter. These types of guys, they were small-time promoters. They did the best they could, but the money just wasn't around. That's why I just hope Fox might just start to give these other promoters who are doing good things some money as well. And having said that, I will take my hat off also to Angelo DiCarlo, who's just said to Fox Sports, okay, he's gone to be in sports and put his case forward, and he's got his own contract with them. And I watched the show a couple of weeks ago. It was an awesome show, the Billy Dibb Jacob NG event. It was awesome. So Angelo, you're probably not watching, but if you watch this on replay at some stage or someone knows him, mate, A1. You haven't sat on your hands waiting for maybe a few scraps that you might get from the other guys. You've gone out and got your own deal, and I love it. So that might be, if you think about it, an opportunity for some of the other guys, other promoters to go out there and maybe ink deals. There's Stan now that have got theirs coming out. Maybe even some of the mainstream channels might come out and have a crack. I know Channel 10, when they launched one, started with boxing, didn't work for whatever reason, and it was canned. But there's just plenty of opportunities out there. The wheel's turning, the opportunities are there, and I think with the momentum that we're gaining from all these young kids coming up, I think who knows what's going to happen. So I hope I answered the question there, mate. I probably said everything, but so that's the way we establish the new crop. Is to continually get these guys. I think No Limit have done it with Harry Gardside, fresh out of the amateurs. They've got Paulie Cuso, I think his name is. I can never pronounce it. He's another one that's fighting on Wednesday. So the plucking him out of the amateurs, I think what will happen is you might see a little bit what goes on in the States, where you've got almost scouts out there at the moment with those bigger guys. Because you've got to remember, if No Limit and DNL, just to pick two, They've got the Fox Sports deal. They need the young talent to keep putting on the shows for the quality for Fox Sports to keep investing in them. So I think what will happen is that they will then start, as I said, getting the scouts out there for the amateurs, striking deals with these guys while they're still amateurs, and when they turn pro, they're ready to go. And that's great for all concerned. Those big guys have got the talent coming through to solidify what they're trying to do, and the amateurs have got something to go for when they decide to turn pro. And even better these days with the whole Olympic pro sort of thing, the really good amateurs can have up to 10 fights now before they're barred from fighting in the amateurs again. So you've got Sky Nicholson has just done it. She had 2 fights now. So I think she will maybe fight sparingly over the next couple of years, maybe get up to 8 or 9 fights. And then she'll go to the Olympics in 2024. So 3 years away. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But look, exciting times with the amateurs and the pros. And I just think No Limit and DNL especially, I just want to pump those guys up because we've got lots of other guys doing great things as well. But I've just got a feeling they're about to step up the next part of being professional, and that's plucking out the talent as they're coming through. And maybe, who knows, maybe having the 14, 15, 16-year-old kids, grab them early, put them in with the right trainers and the right backing with sponsorship and all that sort of stuff. And away we go. So, I don't know, interesting to hear what you guys have to think about that. But thanks, Jack, for the comment. You have to get on here at some stage. I'm going to keep going with my talking points, and I'm going to go to the one that I mentioned at the start. Hang on, before I do that, really appreciate your knowledge and updates, mate. Live, remote, and out of date. Thanks, mate. I'll keep talking. As I said, I don't care whether people come on or not. It's talking boxing. I'll talk all night, but it'll be great at some stage for you guys to come on and have a chat, or worst case, put your comments in. So keep them coming. The link should be there. If you can't see the link, let me know. It should be at the top of the comments. All right, Ebony Bridges I'm going to talk about, because I mentioned this on the show last week on the Thursday night show. I'm just going to get my microphone out there because I think I'm a bit blurry there. I'll put up this first and you can make your own minds. I've got 2 clips. They're only very, very short, and let me know what you think.
Firstly, I just want to say, can I fucking fight or what? Fuck you guys that think I can't fight. Alright? Because I can fucking fight, I can box, I can fight, and I can look hot in the scales.
Yes, there you go. There's one more that I put up as well.
You're a world champion, Ebony.
Yeah, that's it. Hey, fuck you to the critics and fuck you to the doubters. You're eating dick.
Again, I mentioned this on a talking point last week. Tassie probably is a little bit more, what do you say? I won't say outspoken, but maybe not as articulate as maybe I tried to be. I'm interested. Look, this is one thing I'm really interested to hear your thoughts. Now, am I just overreacting? But I said last week, I hate it. I hate it when these guys and girls, I'm not just pointing the finger at Ebony here, by the way, because I did mention last week that Tim Tszyu dropped the F-bomb 3 or 4 times in his interview. I just don't see why they have to do it. Now, again, there might be an old fuddy-duddy. I'm in my late 40s. What do I know? But I just think it looks so unprofessional. Go back to what I said about George at the start. How great did he speak? You don't have to talk like that. Again, if you're after a role model, look at the George Cambosis of the world. And Tim Tszyu to some extent. Mine is his little gaff at the end. As I said last week, I understand that they get emotional. They, the adrenaline's flowing through the body. They're excited. After a fight, so many emotions go through your body. But I just go back to the glory days. Not even the glory days. Go back 10 years. This didn't happen. I don't know whether it's a UFC influence or whatever these days, but I hate it. If you want to put an emphasis on it, I fucking hate it. There you go. I don't normally like the whole swearing thing, but I hate it. And that there, especially from a female, Ebony, you probably don't watch the show, and you probably, if you did, you'd probably tell me to eat a dick, and that's fine. But you fought your heart out. You were fantastic in your efforts. You fought a great fight. You looked to be maybe fading during it, but you dug deep. You won the title. You're a world champion. You get up. Everyone wants to hear what you have to say, and you get up, and that comes out of your mouth. I don't like it. I hate it. So I'll say it again. I hate it. But look, what do I know? And I think I said also last week, I understand a lot of social media sites. They're a lot looser. They have a lot more to say, and it's not really edited. But when you're on the main broadcaster, why do you have to say it's Sky? Sorry, I think Ebony was on Sky. I think I don't know what it was, or DAZN. It might have been whatever it was. The official broadcaster. Be professional. If you're having trouble holding your tongue, do what George Cambosis does and actually get some media training. I've said it 10 times. I'll say it again. Media training. You guys out there, Ebony included, you guys, you got everything to the nth degree. Excuse me, your diet, your training regimen, your recovery sessions, everything that you've got it down to a T. You got everything down to a T except how to bloody handle yourself after a fight or in the media. Why couldn't you just say, look, to all the doubters out there, I hope this showed you that I can fight. I want to be taken seriously. I think she said I can't just look sexy on the scales, whatever. I couldn't give a shit about that, to be honest. When that's on, I just look cool. I could not give a shit or a toss about it. I know lots of guys out there love it. She's obviously capitalizing on it, and that's great. She's making money. Awesome. But what she does with her image is one thing. But when it comes to the post-fight interviews, I just like to have someone on there that the young boxers and just the fans and their country can look up to. Now, I don't know about you, but Ebony in that interview just looked like a friggin' stereotype Aussie bogan to the Poms over there. That's what I reckon they would have thought. So that's just my thoughts on it. And Sky Nicholson, on the other hand, totally professional. I know you could probably give Ebony a few tips here. And I'm not talking about in the fight or in between rounds. I know it's all very emotional, and God knows what gets said in the clinches, all that sort of stuff in the corners. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about after the fight, get on there and just speak professionally. And again, rewind and watch George Cambosis or Canelo. I know he's had a couple of slips, but most of the time, he's a really good role model. Takes a little bit to get Canelo excited, but just listen to what he has to say, because he's a really good role model for all the young kids coming up. And you've got to remember, the young kids go to any amateur tournament. I'm not talking about the young pros. I'm talking about the young kids coming through. They imitate these guys. I mean, how many kids did you see with the shoulder rolls and all this sort of bullshit going on when Floyd was fighting? I remember saying, please look at Floyd and take everything out of him, but please don't try the shoulder roll. He's mastered that since he's probably been about 8 years old. You just can't learn it overnight. So people, they mimic the moves, the outfits. I mean, I remember when I was fighting, I used to love Vinny Pazienza. I had one red boot, one blue boot, because that's what he did. We do that. We follow these guys. So please, if you're watching, be the role model to everyone and represent, more importantly, yourself, your team, your promotional company, and your country with respect. So I know I'm on my soapbox big time tonight, but I just can't stress enough. Just, don't tell people to eat a dick. Say, hey, I showed you. I hope you take me seriously going forward. End of the day, I don't really care what people say, but I can fight. Anyway, what have we got there, Jack? I think there's a lack of care from the promoter as well. You see Dana White and Eddie Hearn are just as bad, and there's no repercussions. George changed his ways, and it's made me respect him more 100%. And I've said this again in the past. The Dana Whites and the Eddie Hearns, like especially Dana White with the UFC, it's a massive organisation, probably the biggest sporting organisation in the world, apart from, I suppose, if you include the WWE in that. It's more of an entertainment company, but it's still, let's say, it's sport. But it's an organisation. Media train your fighters. I'm staggered, even with the local promoters. I'm staggered that the No Limits and D&Ls of the world don't pull the fighters aside before the press conferences start and say, right, if you want to be on our shows going forward, act professional. Okay, I know there's a little bit of to and fro going on. There's going to be some insults, but when you're representing this company, or this promotional firm, you're going to be professional. And on top of that, Fox Sports or Main Event or whoever it is, again, pull these guys aside. So if you want to be on our promotions going forward, or our television shows or events, whatever it is, watch your P's and Q's, be professional, because there's nothing worse. And I know we all laughed about when Ben Damon interviewed the young guy that's fighting this week, Mattel or whatever his name is, fighting Harry Garside when he dropped the F-bomb about 8 times in 8 seconds. Yeah, we all had a bit of a laugh. I didn't. The first one, maybe, first one or two, yep, okay, he's excited and emotional, everything else. But it almost like it gathered steam, and I hated it. I really wish Ben had actually cut him off at the spot or afterwards going into this Wednesday night fight. Remember, he's the main event. He's not just a prelim fighter. He's the main event. I'd be staggered if they don't pull him aside and say, hey, mate, yeah, we got a bit of a laugh out of the first time. You went viral. Congratulations. But on this week's telecast, being the main event, watch your manners and what you go through. Speaking of manners, what do we got up there, mate? Manners, Andrew, manners and respect goes a long way. Ebony was just super mad at all the haters. We do need role models. Yeah, mate, I agree. As I said, I understand that she's emotional. She's excited. Plenty of adrenaline still going through her body, but you can still have your say without being crude, rude, and pretty much disrespectful to everyone that's tuned in to watch your fight. That's just my opinion. If you think I'm being an old fuddy-duddy, let me know. I understand. I'm willing to cop it, but I'm from the old breed with the Haglers and Hearns and Leonards and even the Tysons. You never really saw him swear. He might have got a 1 or 2 at a press conference, whatever, but when he fought afterwards, he was always super professional. So my 2 cents. Geez, I've read it off a bit tonight just on a couple of subjects. Another thing I'm really curious about is what you guys thought of Nikita Zoo. We didn't really go over it too much in our other shows. We obviously covered the event, got the interviews and the fight highlights afterwards. But what do you think? Do you think he's the real deal? I know it's hard after one fight, and I know Aaron Stahl probably wasn't, a world-class fighter, even though, look, and I think Nikita got a bit of flack over that as well. Go easy on him. Every single elite fighter turning pro that's ever lived has always had a few easy fights for starters, and most of them end in first round knockouts. Aaron got to the second round. He's a good, tough guy. Props to him for actually taking the fight because it's a no-win situation. But what do you guys think of Nikita? Well, you're impressed? Do you think he needs to work on a few things? My opinion was it was just one of those fights just to put aside and don't think twice about it. Just get the win, get it out the road, and move on. Got to say, I was a little bit concerned a couple of times. The chin sort of goes up in the air a little bit when he's pulling out of exchanges, but I'm sure they'll work on that. As I said, I just think it was one of those times where you just get it done. Okay, just get the win, get the W, move on. Fighting in July, I'm sure that's about ready to be announced. I know who's actually fighting, but I'm not going to say because a source told me, it's a little bit private at the moment. But good test for him as well. And then there's also lined up as well, but I won't spill the beans on that just yet till more has been said. But Nikita to fight in June or July and probably September after that. Need to see more of Nikita. Yeah, well, that's the plan, mate. As I said, I think they'll give him 5 fights this year, so 4 more fights after the one he's just had. I think Tim did that as well. I'm not sure whether they'll do the same thing with him and take him around the country like they did with Tim. We obviously had him in Bendigo. I promoted his fight with the Argentinian, and that went really well. It went about 2 minutes. The crowd were wrapped that night seeing Tim. So did come with pretty good reputation too, the Argentinian, but lasted about 2 minutes, unfortunately. But it was great. It was great for his profile. And from memory, I think they fought in Adelaide. I think that was on the Mundine Green undercard, the second fight. They fought him all around the place. So I'm not sure they'll do that with Nikita. Hopefully they do. I'd love to see him actually fight on one of Tassie's shows down in Tasmania. I think Tassie's got a show in June, but I think he's doing another one later in the year. But also get over the Dragon Fire, whatever. I just love to see him fight on some cards all around the country. So, again, interesting to hear what you guys have to say. Speaking of Mundine Green 3, now I heard 2. I heard a rumor the other day, and I hope I'm wrong. Mundine Green 3 might be on the cards. I really, really hope I'm wrong, but a good source told me that it may be on the cards. Now, I would hope, it's good in theory, I would hope that the combat board in whatever state it's going to would say thanks, but no thanks. Especially in Anthony's situation. I think he was knocked out in the first round, 2 of his last 3 fights, especially that last one against Michael Zarafa. I couldn't watch it. I watched the replay. couldn't sort of bear. I was watching it like this because a great fighter like Anthony Mundine, and whether you love him or hate him, doesn't change the fact that he was great for Australian boxing. He was, and with Danny Green, I will say on top of that, probably a run below Anthony as far as the pay-per-view stakes go. But yeah, it was just really sad to see Anthony Mundine go out that way, and I really hope that the people that care for him get behind him or around him and say, Anthony, please, no more. Yes, you might make $1 million out of it. But I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say, whether you think it would sell. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. But I'm sure, look, I'm sure there's actually, when you think about it, you know, they'll pump it up that, you know, Mundine's back and, you know, Green's. He actually looks pretty good, I will say, Danny. I watched him at the Sonny Bill Williams Barry Hall fight. He actually looks in pretty good nick. But please, guys, just money's not everything, especially for Anthony. I really don't like the way he's struggled with stringing the sentence together in the last couple of years. So please, Anthony, if you're watching, don't fight again, even though there's lots of coin. I'm sure you've both made a shitload of money. Just let it be, okay? Maybe go up against each other with your training camps or whatever. What do you got there, mate? Don't want to see Chock in there again, sadly. We will sell, but will cost Chock's health, yeah. And I hope it's not too late already. We actually interviewed him on Boxing Deep Dive a few months back. I think it was about a month or two after he fought. Actually, it might have been about 6 months after he fought Michael Zarafa, and he wasn't too bad then. So I'm hoping that he's starting to get well. But yeah, I would be really disappointed. And again, it would be all the brownie points that we're building up at the moment with Aussie boxing. I really think it would be another TikTok versus YouTube situation. It would make Australian boxing a circus. So I'm really hoping, and I'm sure you guys are the same, that if they love and respect boxing as much as they say they do, that they will not have that fight. So stay tuned on that one. Monday and Green 3. Another thing I've actually had a few people reach out to me about, so I wouldn't mind seeing made, and who I think would be some great Aussie fights to make, and who would win. I've actually rattled down a few, and I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say. My first one I would love to see, this is getting back to Ebony Bridges, I would love to see her fight Shannon O'Connell. I really don't think it's going to happen because I think Ebony knows that Shannon would probably take her out. That's all due respect to Ebony. I don't think Eddie Hearn would allow that fight because I think he would know that Shannon would have Ebony Bridges covered. And why fight Shannon when you don't have to? Even though Shannon's ranked number one, but you know, it means nothing these days. They'll find ways around it. They'll do whatever it takes. So I think that is probably the top of the tree. And it's unusual, it's a female fight, but I would love to see that. And even I would love to see Ebony fights Shanika Johnson if she wins. I know Shanika Johnson's gone up to super bantamweight, but I would love to see that fight. Maybe if she wins that fight, I've got a feeling maybe Shannon might target Shanika for the IBF super bantamweight title, which she fights for on April 20th on the Hardman Zarafa card. But they fought obviously last year on the Zarafa Mundine card. Shannon got the win. I think Shannon would do it again. I still think Shannon has got what it takes to beat both those girls. But again, it's great for Australian boxing. So yeah, I would love to see that. So Shannon against Ebony Bridges. I think Shannon wins that one by late round stoppage, 7th, 8th, maybe 9th round stoppage, in my opinion. But again, don't hold your breath because I doubt it's going to happen. There's not enough money in Australia to do it. Eddie Hearn's sure as hell not going to fly Shannon over to England to fight Ebony Bridges, I wouldn't have thought, but look, you never know. The other one was a good mate of mine, Jade Mitchell, who's making his comeback, I think in late May or mid-May. I think it is. He was supposed to fight pretty soon, but got COVID, knocked him around a little bit. 3 different opponents for Jade. I would love to see him fight. Bilal Akaway, Rowan Murdoch, and Zach Dunn. So the one I would most like to see out of all of those would probably be Zach Dunn. But I think Zach is probably not in the right space at the moment for that fight to happen. He hasn't fought for quite some time. I think he might have had a little bub as well. So good luck to him. Congratulations. Being a Victorian, of course, I would love to see that fight in Melbourne. But just not sure whether it will happen. From Jade's point of view, take it from me. If you're on the fence about who wants to fight who and who doesn't, take it from me. Jade wants that fight. He would fight him tomorrow if he could. when I promoted Jade for a couple of his fights, and we actually put a very, very good offer to Zach Dunn, and he turned it down. It was a very good offer. And that's when I think that was our first DNL event in conjunction with DNL, I think it was. But they declined for whatever reason. So don't believe the fight. He wants that fight and would fight Zach in a heartbeat. Bilal Akaway would be pretty good. I'm really glad Bilal's back. When he got stopped by John Ryder, it was a pretty sad night. He took on a short notice, so it's really hard. And John Ryder's a very, very good fighter. But I'm really glad that Bilal's back. He's had a few injury problems, so he's back amongst it now. At cruiserweight, I will say, I think he fought at 200 pounds. He's only got 32 pounds to get down to. I have heard that maybe he might fight at light heavyweight going forward, so we'll see. But that would be good. Rowan Murdoch, yeah, probably the third choice out of him, and surprisingly, that's probably the one that has the most legs about actually happening. So I backed Jade in all three of those fights. Really interesting to see how he goes coming back. It's been, by the time he gets in the ring, it'll be nearly 2.5 years since his last fight. I promoted his last fight with Isvan Zilli. Could have gone either way. Jade had a few dramas in the lead up to that, most notably with his weight. So I'm hoping that he's got that under control. Again, it comes back to being a professional athlete. I'm sure Jade will be the first one to tell you that maybe in years gone by, he hasn't probably been overly professional as far as his weight goes. Always ticks the boxes as far as his fitness and his recovery and all that sort of stuff goes. But the diet and nutrition part is probably left a little bit to be desired, which I'm sure this is his last crack at it. So I'm sure he'll again tick the boxes to make sure that he does everything right to get a shot. The other one I'd like to see, well, actually, what have we got there? Real shame Mitchell Dunn fight wasn't made in 2018-19. Yes, it was end of 2019 when the fight was put to Zach Dunn. And I will say again, they came back and actually said what they would need for the fight to happen. I spoke to Dean Lonigan. Dean Lonigan said, yep, let's get it done. We went back, gave them what they wanted to, and they still declined to take the fight. And that's coming from the horse's mouth. So that is not hearsay. That is fact. So if you hear any different, that is not right, because I'm the one that actually spoke on the phone and made the offer, and it was declined. So I'll back Jade up on that one. Andrew Bomber was voluntary, but shotgun is mandatory. Shotgun gets another belt to build. Yeah, look, I've promoted and managed Shannon for a lot of her career, and haven't for the last probably 3 or 4 years. And I'm really rapt she's with No Limit, by the way. But I just can't believe that she was the WBA mandatory, or number one, when Ebony and Shannon Courtney fought, got leapfrogged. I said this on the show last week, didn't get the shot. She's been leapfrogged again by Ebony, which was ranked number one by the IBF. So I feel a little bit for Shannon, but I've got no doubt the fact she's now promoted by No Limit, managed by Glenn Jennings, you're going to see Shannon in some ripper fights this year. And yeah, I think she's just turned 39. I think she's still got 3 or 4 good years left in her. She takes so good care of her body. You look at her, she's super fit. You would not know she's that age. I hope she doesn't mind me saying how old she is. But yeah, look, she's just in as good a nick now as she was 5, 6, 7 years ago, in my opinion. And I think she's actually hitting her peak. And I think with women, late 30s probably is a time where they really hit the peak in their physicality. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, we'll see what happens there, Andrew. I would love to see Shannon get a fight, and I'm sure she will, with No Limit and Glenn Jennings behind her. The other one I've got down is Stevie Spark against either Ty Telford or Dara Foley. I know Ty Telford and Foley have already fought. I thought Telford actually did enough, but it was really close. Can't argue either way. Foley got the decision, of course. Stevie Spark, I know he's at light welterweight now, but I would love to see him and Ty Telford. If I had a choice, that would be the fight. What do you got there, mate? Do you agree shotgun beats bomber? Yes, I said before, I think shotgun stops Ebony Bridges in 7, 8, maybe 9 rounds. I think the main thing is I think Ebony has this thing as she starts very quickly. Shannon will go with it away. Ebony does have a little bit of a habit of maybe fading in the 5th, 6th, 7th rounds, where Shannon will just not stop, and she'll keep coming and coming and coming. She's the fittest fighter I've ever seen, Shannon. And I think she would set a pace I don't think Ebony would go to. And the other thing is she's strong, but she's not fast with her hands or feet. Shannon is fast. She's not super fast, but she's faster than Ebony, and she's definitely a lot quicker with her feet. And I think she just has all the tools to beat Ebony, as does Shanika Johnson. I think Shanika Johnson beats Ebony Bridges quite comfortably as well. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, as I said, Stevie Spark, Ty Telford, that is the fight I would love to see. My money would be probably on Stevie Spark because he's a lot busier than Ty Telford, although Ty Telford was super impressive against Tyson Best, I will say. He just took Tyson Best out. No contest. It was great to see, and not so good if you're a Tyson Best fan, but I thought that would be a really close, tight fight. But Ty Telford, he is a very, very tough guy. So that would be the fight I would have. As I said, the edge would probably be to Stevie Spark, probably by decision. I don't think either one of them would put each other away. I think they're both way too tough for each other to put away. Maybe a cut or something might stop it, but I think in general play during the fight, I think Stevie Spark gets the nod just because he's a little bit busier. Justice Honey Willis Meehan is the other fight I would love to see. I think it will happen, but it might be three years away, maybe 4 years. Who knows? Actually, I take that back. Maybe 3 years tops. I think Justice will want some sort of title. Willis Meehan, I'm not sure I'd want to be taking him on if he's got another 5 or 6 fights. He can fight. He is a big, tough, hard-hitting, strong guy, and I think he would give Honey all he could handle. I'm going to stick with Justice Honey on points. I think he has enough boxing IQ and the tools to beat Willis Meehan. I think he wins in I will say unanimous decision, but not a wide decision. I think he wins maybe if it's a 10-round fight, maybe 6 rounds to 4. I think he has enough to beat Willis Meehan. Great talent, Justice Honey. I've got no doubt that he will be fighting for some major title at some stage. So keep your eye out for Justice. The other one I've been thinking about lately is that Blake Caparello's back. The word is he's going to be fighting at cruiserweight. I would love to see him in an all-Victorian fight with Jason Waitley. I'm not sure whether that happens with promotional firms. I did say that the Floyd Masson fight would be good for either one of them. That ain't going to happen because he's with Ace Boxing. But Caparello and Waitley would be an awesome Victorian fight. So if Tasman fighters want to bring it to Melbourne, that would be perfect. I know Waitley is probably looking at Opatai down the track. I think that's a long way off. Opatai's got way more better things on his plate at the moment. Waitley is just still finding his way, and I really don't think that is a fight that Jason Waitley wants with Jai Opatai. They might want it, but do they want it? Because Jai Opatai, actually surprisingly saw these guys fight as amateurs, and it was pretty one-sided. I remember that was 6 or 7 years ago, we'll say, but I just don't think that Jason has the speed and overall tools to trouble Jai. I might be wrong. He can punch. I'll give him that. But, geez, they don't come much more slicker than Jai Opatai. And I think if he wins his fight, and if he doesn't win, I think he's going to be in a lot of more big fights down the track. Thanks, Andrew. I agree, mate. Honey Meehan would be a great fight. So let's hope that one comes about. And knowing the guys at Tasman Fighters and DNL, they're going to want those fights. They've got pay-per-views they've got to fill. They're going to want that fight. I just don't think it's yet. Give it a couple of years at least, I would think. And the last one I would love to see, again, I'm happy to hear all your guys' opinions. I would love to see down the track Brock Jarvis, Liam. I don't know what weight Brock is going to fight at. He went pretty much from bantamweight to super bantamweight. I think he actually skipped featherweight, went straight to lightweight in his last fight. I would love to see that fight, Brock Jarvis and Liam Wilson. I think would be an absolute barn burner, and I've got a feeling that could be a potential pay-per-view down the track. I don't expect to see that for at least a couple of years either, maybe even 3 years, because I think they're both on, they're running sort of parallel to each other at the moment. Whether Liam goes up to super lightweight, I don't know. There's been talk about it, and whether Brock Jarvis remains at lightweight. I think talking to Jeff Fennick, I think they will try and get him back to super featherweight. I think that's a good weight for him, but he's just an absolute monster at that weight. Even that fight where he fought at lightweight, he went from super bantamweight up to lightweight or featherweight up to lightweight, and he looked 2 divisions above that guy that he fought, who was actually a natural lightweight. So that would be a ripper. My tip for that one, I think I'm going for Brock Jarvis because he's a bit stronger than Liam. Liam's so slick, and he's got that killer left hook, lightning fast combinations. But I just think Brock Jarvis, if he closed, especially if it's over, say, 12 rounds for some sort of title, I think Brock, he fights just like Jeff did. He's in the face, he closes the space, he rips, he hooks, he pushes, he shoves, he roughs them up, and he does not give them 1 second to get their breath or composure. So I think Brock would get that done. I would like to see Brock, as he starts stepping up the opponents, maybe start to concentrate on his strengths a little bit more as far as the height and reach he normally has on guys. I know he loves to get in tight and close down that space, as I said, but I'd love to see him just to a bit more head movement, a bit more long range punching. But Jeff's philosophy is, if you're close, it means they can't, it's less chance of obviously getting hit, close up the. So there you go. So Brock Jarvis for me. Just quickly before I end it for the night on the world scene, I'd love to see Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, wouldn't we all? I'd like to see Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder. That's an interesting fight. Going back, I think Crawford gets the job done over Spencer, we'll say. Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder. I think Joshua would dominate every round until he got chinned, and then it would be over. So I don't think the first round or the 12th round, Joshua will win every single round based on ability and skill. But if Wilder lands one right hand, it's over. So that's it. So I will say Joshua on point. However, that could all come crashing down with one punch. So another one, I'd love to see Canelo and David Benavidez. I think that'll be a really good fight. Don't get me wrong, Bivol's going to be a very, very good test for Canelo. He's a big, strong guy who can punch and has got good skills as well. I think he's going to test Canelo. But I think just a gut feeling, I think Benavidez, has the better chance out of all the guys, apart from Triple G, of course. Speaking of Triple G, I love to, apart from the Canelo fight, if he stays at middleweight, I'd love to fight for him to fight Jamal Charlo or Jaime Munguia. I'd love to see that fight as well. I think either one of those fights would be great for Triple G. I expect him to beat Murata this weekend to win the IBF title. But I think Charlo or Munguia. Speaking of Munguia, I'd also like him to fight Chris Eubank Jr. I'd love to see that fight. I think that'd be a ripper. Two more. I've got just a couple of lesser lights. I've got Boots Ennis against Virgil Ortiz Jr. I think that would be a ripper. And the last one is a lightweight elimination fight between Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia. You could probably throw Loma in there, Vasily Lomachenko, but I think he's going to get the winner of Haney and Cambosis regardless. So, but yeah, Davis and Garcia would be a ripper. It'd be a massive pay-per-view fight in the States. So we'll see what happens there. So that's about it, guys. Haven't got time to go over all the BoxRec fights coming up, all the shows. We've gone way over. Not way over, but we've gone over our normal time. So we'll get into that more next week. But look, come on next week. I know a few of you out there watching who are probably thinking, yeah, I wouldn't mind coming on. But, all it takes is one or two to come on and the ball will start rolling. But appreciate Andrew and Jack for coming in there, mate. There's been a few come and go in the viewership. So talking boxing. As I said at the start, I'm happy to talk for an hour with all this sort of stuff. It'd be great to have some company and bounce some stuff off. I have got a co-host coming on soon. I'm just sort of sorting out who's going to come on with me to talk about all these topics, and we'll see. We might even get Tassie and or Mike or Pete on at some stage as well. So stay tuned. So next Monday night, 7:30, come on and have your say, and really look forward to having your company next week. Now watch on Thursday. We record on Thursday for Boxing Deep Dive. It's out on Friday morning. We've had a couple of people say, why didn't we do a classic fight and dream fight this week? It's because a few of the guys had a few things on last week when we were recording, and we just didn't get it done. So we'll do that. Hardman, Zarafa is only a couple of weeks away, or 3 weeks away, whatever it is. So we'll be doing a show. I think we might do it the night before a live show. We might do this Talking Boxing on the Tuesday night and do a Zarafa Hardman theme, go over the weigh-in and some last-minute predictions and all that sort of stuff. So great to have you come on there as well with your comments and predictions. So we'll advertise that a bit more. So as normal, next week, Monday at 7:30, come on, have your say, and really look forward to, again, having your company then.